What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to Movie Emporium's Top 10 Films and 10 Genres, where I take a film, I put it against a genre, and talk about why it's so exciting to watch. Now, before we begin, if you like this channel, awesome, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium, hit that notification bell at the top to find what's coming next. If you like this video, awesome, hit that like button, as well as comment below any video that you watch, including this one. So the first video I did in this series was a video where you took 10 genres, you put 10 films into it, you pick a film per genre, and you talk about why you enjoy that film. And it was thanks to Trivial Theater. It was a fun thing to do. A lot of work, but I enjoy doing this kind of work and stuff. And so another one of these things has come out, and Trivial Theater has once again, thank you so much as always for putting me on the list to do this type of series. And like I said with the last one, if you decide you want to do this, please do. No, I'm not going to pick anybody. It's more of just if you enjoy these types of things, go ahead and do it on your YouTube channel. And this time we're talking about horror. Specifically 10 different genres of the horror genre. Now, the one thing I will say before we get into this list is it was a little bit more difficult to pick horror films because I haven't watched as many horror films as a lot of people. So there will be some films in this list that are pretty much recognizable as like the top of the genre, but I still found some films in specific genres that I'd like to talk about, even though I'm sure you've heard of them. So like my last list, there's no alphabetical order to this. I just put them in whatever order I felt like. And so the first genre I picked was the paranormal horror genre, and I went with So starting out of the gate, paranormal films are not my cup of tea. There's a lot of films I don't like in the paranormal genre. So I went with the easiest idea. I went with the easiest film, and that of course is Poltergeist. This is of course a Tobe Hooper, Steven Spielberg film. This is a movie with Craig T. Nelson. This is a film about a girl getting sucked into a TV. There's a film about a guy eating a chicken bone that had worms in it and slicing his face off and stuff like that. It's just a film that is a classic in every sense of the horror genre. It's fun. It's scary. It has, the famous woman saying this house is clear. There's an Indian burial ground. There's a killer clown. There's everything that you can imagine about a film like this that make you scared and horrified. The visual effects are amazing. There's some things that have been told about this film being directed by Steven Spielberg for the most part. Who knows? But it's a classic of a film. It has a lot of great dimensions when it comes to family drama. It also has just great, looking visual effects and great music, and everything about it is great. So for the paranormal drama, I picked Poltergeist. And so the next genre is Now this film, Cube, if you haven't seen it, it's 100% a recommendation. It's directed by Vincenzo Natali. He's a guy that went on to direct some okay stuff for the Stephen King genre. He's directed some Westworld, stuff like that. But this is a movie that I think is a tour de force for a early time directorial effort, because it's very low key. It's very simple. These individuals that you've never heard of before, no actors, no names, go into these different cube rooms, and basically some have traps that are very deadly, some are not, and they have to figure out why they're stuck in this situation. Has a great ending, is a great sci-fi horror film, and is a film that I just truly love. I actually thought I was the only one that ever heard of this film until later on in my career of loving movies, and no, it's a sci-fi horror classic, and I love it. I think it's great, and like I said, if you haven't watched Cube, definitely check it out. But with that said, the next genre we'll talk about is home invasion. So the home invasion genre is a genre that I'm very, very mixed about. You have stuff like The Strangers, you have stuff like The Purge, which are both fine movies. I like Liv Tyler and The Strangers and stuff like that. But a movie I wanted to talk about is called You're Next, and everybody I'm sure has heard of this film, but it's a movie that is your atypical home invasion movie till it's not. About halfway through this movie, the home invasion gets turned on its head and becomes something completely different, and is an amazingly well directed, a lot of fun, directed by Adam Wingard, and it's an incredible thing to watch an actress in this movie just be super awesome and kick ass, and the way this movie kind of twists and turns itself as the movie moves along is pretty awesome. It is definitely a home invasion film, but it definitely does not go where you expect. But that's where I'm going to go with the home invasion genre. Like I said, there's other films in the genre, but this is one that I feel is very, very effective. So with that said, we're going to go into my least favorite genre, which is torture porn. So this genre that is torture porn is not something I enjoy. I like Saw. I like the first two or three films. Then it got way too out of hand. Hostel and Human Centipede, I could, whatever, take it or leave it. So it was really hard to find a film for this genre. But I came across a film of Clive Barker as a producer called The Midnight Meat Train. And I thought about it for a second. I had to do a double check with a couple other people about this film. And I said, is this a slasher film? They said, yes. I said, is it also torture porn? And I, absolutely. And when you go back and think about this film, it's about a guy who's played by Vinnie Jones who literally tortures people to death. It's very gruesome. It's very graphic. It's as violent as can be. It's directed by an Asian director who is known for doing really graphic content when it comes to horror films. Produced by Clive Barker, who's known for doing Hellraiser. So in essence, it is a torture movie. And there we have Bradley Cooper, who plays a photographer. Leslie Bibb plays his like wife or girlfriend. And the things that he deals with and he sees and what he comprehends and what she has to go through, it's very torturous to watch. I mean, it's graphic, it's violent, and I love it. It's a great movie. It really is. It's a movie that got no love by the company that produced it and released it. But it's definitely one I recommend that you check out if you have a chance. So that is my take in the torture porn genre of the horror category. So next, we'll go ahead into found footage. So the found footage genre is, to be fairly honest, you probably agree with me, there's a lot of terrible films in the found footage genre. That Apollo 11 movie, some of the Paranormal Activity movies. There's one about Chernobyl and stuff like that. They're all awful films. You probably disagree with me, but they're for most part all awful films. So to find a movie that's unique in this genre was hard to do. And I did a little bit of soul searching, and I forgot about this film called The Bay. Now, The Bay is a film that, of course, deals with a virus of some sort, a contamination that happens in this small New England town or whatever. And it's directed by Barry Levinson. Now, if you don't know who Barry Levinson is, which some of you probably don't, he's the guy who directed Rain Man and Wag the Dog and Bugsy. He's a director that's not known for doing horror films, let alone found footage films. So the fact that not only does he do a great job in this movie, but it is extremely effective for what it's doing, and it's scary and violent and creepy and uncomfortable, and is a found footage film, is insane. It's a really effective film, really feels like a real true to life film, and it's scary if this situation ever happened. So if you haven't seen The Bay, directed by Barry Levinson, definitely check it out because it is pretty effective for what it takes and what he is doing in this film. So, but that is my take on the, of course, found footage genre. And next we'll head into a classic genre, which is the vampire genre. So take two actors and an actress from Aliens, toss them into a vampire flick directed by Catherine Bigelow, who was once married to, of course, James Cameron, who directed Aliens, and called this movie Near Dark. Near Dark is an incredible 80s vampire film that I think is completely underrated. It's a film that I know a lot of people in the circle I know love this film, but it has a very cool punk style to it. It has, like I said, Lance Hendricks in it. Bill Paxton's in it, who's amazing. It has this weird kind of Lost Boys vibe to it, but they drive around in a van under cover of night. They actually recruit somebody who is they're trying to turn into a vampire, and it has everything that you can imagine out of it. It has early Catherine Bigelow, who's known for like The Hurt Locker and Point Break. It just has a really cool sense about it, and like I said, Lance Henriksen, who is in Aliens and stuff like that, is the leader, and just to watch these actors do something really fun and energetic and insane and stuff like that, it really feels like the 80s belong to the vampire genre. So it's a movie that if you haven't seen, it's a great movie for an early Catherine Bigelow film, and it has a lot of great actors in it. So for my vampires genre film in the horror genre is Near Dark, and we're heading to another classic, which of course is zombies. So zombie films or the zombie genre, you could pick stuff like Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead, you could pick the old George Romero films, you could pick other films, but it's what to me is considered the least watched genre in my repertoire of horror genre. There's just not a lot of zombie films that I've seen. So picking one was a really hard task because it's just one of those things that if I haven't seen it, there's no point in talking about it. And so I actually found a film that I completely forgot was even a zombie film, and that of course is Laika's Paranorman. Now Paranorman is a very underrated classic classic when it comes to animated films. It's a kid's film. It's very spooky and it's filled with a lot of fun. The grandmother is always talking to Norman. He's getting, he's bullied and stuff like that because he's different. But in the kind of running up to the story of what the story is actually about, he actually raises the dead who are zombies. And the story is just a lot of fun. It's entertaining. It's a well done kids film. It's stop motion, which is really hard to do, and really shows you that Leica, even though this film wasn't a success, like Coraline, was really trying to bring out something cool and awe-inspiring when it comes to these stop motion films, stuff like Artemis and what they do. But it was a movie that just wasn't seen by a lot of people, and which is such a shame. But if you haven't seen Paranormal, definitely check it out because it's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. So with that said, that's my take in the zombie genre. And the next genre is the werewolf genre, which is another hard genre because I haven't seen a lot of films in. So let's talk about that one. So when it comes to the werewolf genre, I'm just going to get out of the way. You can say Wolfman, which is a really incredible horror film and stuff like that. But American Werewolf in London, directed by John Landis, is a masterpiece of horror cinema. It's, Rick Baker and his effects work and David Naughton and stuff like that. And this guy who is traveling overseas with his friend, the spooky nature of the simple fact of when they get off the truck to when he becomes a werewolf, to what happens to the camera work when he is a werewolf, where you don't see the actual wolf, but you see the camera work when he acts like he's a wolf. It's just an all-around masterpiece of a film that just is so effective in what it's trying to do. And it's also funny as hell. Like when the victims show up in the movie as dead people who are haunting, the main character, it's like, holy cow, this is scary. And it's funny. And then you have the wolf zombie people, and that is insane. And this movie is everything a horror film should be. It's everything a werewolf genre movie should be. And it's just a classic piece of filmmaking. So with that said, that's the film I went with the werewolf genre. And yeah, I love it. I loved it a lot. So it's a little bit of a normal pick for pretty much everyone, but you can't deny it's, what it is. So, but with that said, we'll head into the slasher genre. And this is one I have seen a lot of films for. So let's go ahead and talk about that. So here we go with another normal pick. For the slasher genre, I went with one of the original slasher films that kind of started it all. It's my favorite horror film of all time. It's Halloween from John Carpenter. I went between this and Child's Play and, the normal picks that you would pick. And some of the slasher films that were not normal or stuff that I haven't seen before. But Halloween is the original. It's the OG. It's effective in bringing us Jamie Lee Curtis into the mix. It gave us Michael Myers. It's a film that is effective and just the creep nature of just how simple it is. The fact they shot in the middle of summer and they had to collect all the leaves because they were filming in the fall on Halloween. The kills are not exactly graphic. It's not till later on the other films that when it becomes truly graphic, but it gives us a villain or antagonist that is truly evil and truly scary. And when you watch him coming towards you, it's like watching the original Terminator when he's chasing after Sarah Connor. It's like, oh my God, it's like it doesn't end, it doesn't stop. It's making your heart throb. And then when it gets to the very end, when Sam Loomis, shoots him, and he falls out the window, and then he looks out the window, and he's still alive. It's like, whew. Yeah, that's very effective. And I liked Halloween 2. I didn't like what they did with the, David Gordon Green Halloween, where they kind of took everything out the window. But for the original first one, it's right up my alley. Is one of my favorite horror films of all time. So, but that leads into our last film in the genre that is horror, and that, of course, is the foreign genre. So let's go and talk about that. So me personally, the foreign language horror genre in the subcategory of horror is my favorite genre because there have been so many good horror films that come out of different countries, like, High to Tension and Wreck, and of course the Grudge and Ringu and stuff like that. It's a genre that, especially the foreign genre, it's a genre that can be really effective, and because they have different sensibilities in other countries like in Japan and Spain and stuff like that, that they can create really interesting type of content. And This film is a film that's directed by Takashi Miike, and that, of course, is Audition. Now, Audition, if you have not seen it, I know a lot of people are like, ah, yes, you love this film. I love this film. It's a very classic horror film. It's a film that is very unsettling, too, especially what happens to the poor guy who he loses his wife. He basically interviews other young female girls, and he finds one that he really likes, and it turns out to not be what he expected. And the things that this guy has to go through in this movie and the things that this woman does in this movie, boy howdy, if you haven't seen this movie and you're squeamish, you might want to stay away from it. But if you want to see a great horror film, and especially a great foreign horror film, something that's truly going to make you like love what the horror genre can do, I definitely recommend this film, Audition, because you'll never look at certain things the same way again. I will definitely say that. So it's a film that I highly recommend. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. So, but there you go. That is my 10 films and 10 genres horror edition. Thank you so much for watching. In the comments below, tell me what your 10 films in each of these genres is. You know, like I said, there's so many different films. There's so many different ideas, concepts. You could put actually some of these films in different other genres that I mentioned. It's just whatever you feel. Let me know in the comments below. But like I said, thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at the top to find what's coming next. If you liked the video, awesome. Hit that like button. And as always, we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out.